Hello, I'm Jess from Studio of Evolution. Thank you so much for being here with me today. So today I'm going to be doing a follow along stretching video. This is for advanced dancers and students. So this is what I do myself every night. I've been asked in the past what kind of stretches I do, and I thought I would share them with you. So please be very careful. If you are a beginner, I will be posting another video with stretches for beginners, so please wait. But if you are more advanced and you want to try some new stretches or really kind of dig deeper into your stretching, then feel free to join me. Today I'm going to be using a timer. I'm going to try to use it to do about 30 to 40 seconds of stretching. With time, you can work up to more than that. So depending on the stretch, I might hold it for a minute, 2 minutes, but you have to be extremely careful when you are stretching. It's easy to hurt yourself and you don't want to overstretch. So that's why I'm saying this is for more advanced people. You need to know your body and what feels good for you. So I'm just going to go through what I do. I usually do it at night watching TV. So these are not stretches that I would do before a class. So before a class, I would do more mobility work. One day I can make a video of that as well. But at night, after a long day, I like to just do these more passive stretches. I apologize for all the stuff in the back. I'm working on a show and I have all my props for the show everywhere, so bear with me. So we're gonna start holding this for 30 seconds. So you're just gonna sit very gently. If ever you feel this pulls too much, you can always sit on a block and you'll be good. So just relaxing into it. So another thing that's really, really important about stretching is our mental kind of visualization and relaxation. So if I am tensing, I'm not going to stretch very well. So I really want to, even if I know sometimes it's not comfortable. So the biggest thing about stretching, I find, is you have to be patient. So I have students, we're good. We're going to lean back for another 30 seconds. So you can start with kind of being upright like this. And then as you get more comfortable, you can go onto your elbows. And if you get really comfortable, like I'll usually stay here for 30 seconds, and then I'll go onto my back for another 30 seconds. So like I was saying, it's really, really important when you're stretching to focus on your breathing and relaxing, which isn't always the easiest thing to do because sometimes we're not very comfortable. So we're going to start that again. And you can either just wait for me, or if you're comfortable, you can go back. So we're trying to relax our rib cage down. I'm not forcing anything. If your knee wants to come up a bit, don't force it. And just deep breathing. Visualize that you're melting into the floor. And we're going to come up very gently. So every day we're a little different. So don't force your body to do something just because it did it yesterday. Maybe today it doesn't feel like doing it, or we didn't sleep well, or we ate different things, or we were out late at night. Try to be kind and really listen to what your body needs that day. So now we're going to cross one knee over the other. Once again, you can sit on a block if you find this difficult. And we're gonna lean forward. Now I'm really trying to widen my shoulders, lengthen my neck. So even though they're passive stretches, we really wanna be aware of our alignment. And if we're not correctly aligned, we're not really stretching properly. So you might do stretches for a year and go, I'm never getting more flexible. Well, that might be because you're not stretching in the correct way. So we always wanna be lengthening, focus on that deep breathing. As you become more comfortable, so you can start with your knees like on more of an angle. As your flexibility progresses, you can put your legs more in a straight line and you'll feel it in a different way. So you can really play around with where you're putting your legs to feel it in different parts of the glutes. So now we're really getting into the glutes. You can also bend your head over if you want, and you'll feel it a little deeper in a different way. So you can play around with that. So that was a little over 30 seconds. We're gonna come up another 30 seconds. Be very careful with this one. It's a deep stretch. We're going to be reaching away. I like to make sure I'm doing a nice third position and big breath. Sorry, I'm kind of in the mirror here, so it's not a very nice one. Keeping your shoulders square, deep breathing. It's really gonna stretch your side and in front of the hip. If this is too much, just stay up here. You don't have to go all the way down. I worked kind of to get there. I didn't start with my elbow on the floor. So just be very kind to yourself and very gentle. Good, coming out of it. If you want, you can round your back, come up, and we're gonna do the whole thing on the other side. So once again, we are not very symmetrical. You might find there's a side that's tighter. Please don't make it do what the other side did. Maybe it can't. So just be kind to it, breathe. If it wants to go a little lower, it'll go. If you find you're here, then a block is a great idea. So just nice. And I'm really focusing on melting. So I'm trying to like melt my legs into the mat, focus on a nice long spine, as if I'm like kind of floating, like someone is holding a string, is holding me up. If you want, you can also go forward. I do that later. Personally, I like to just sit like this, and it's good to do it in front of the TV or doing something else, listening to music, because then you don't really get bored doing it. You're just kind of distracted while you're doing this. So another thing I'm not sure if I mentioned on the other side, you want to make sure that your knee comes in. So don't leave it at the same angle. I'm really bringing that knee in, and then I'm leaning back. So as you can see, these stretches are not super intense. I like to start slow, especially because I do them at night after a long day. I'm not necessarily super warm. So you want to be really careful if you're stretching when you're not warm. So the best would be if you went for a walk, did something else, and then stretched, just to be extra safe. Good, I'm gonna lean back. So I'm doing like 30 seconds here, 30 seconds here. So in the end, this is taking like a minute and a half if I do it the way I do it. Second. And staying here, I apologize. I'm trying to use the timer, but it's not working too well. And then if you want, you can go back, but never forcing. So this one I find pretty difficult, so I don't force anything. Ideally, we want the rib cage going to the floor, but never forcing. Deep breaths. And we're going to come up very gently and crossing that other leg over. This position is kind of nice too. You can massage your feet at the same time and get a little, if you've had a long day, get a little massage in there while we're releasing our hips and our glutes. And remember that nice lengthened feeling in the spine. So we're not just like collapsing, I'm lengthening, and I feel like my glutes are melting into the floor. And then if I want to feel a little differently, I can bend my head in and target a little deeper and differently inside those glutes. Fantastic. Now we're going to bend to the side, up and over. So a nice third position. You're welcome to stay here. If you can, you go down, but you never force anything, and we try to stay as square as possible with those shoulders. Inhale, exhale. If you feel like you can't hold this because it's intense, just come up. Don't force your body to do things it doesn't want to do, but over time, it'll start to enjoy it and like it. So that's another thing I tell my students. It's tricky at first when we're learning how to stretch to know what is a little bit of discomfort because we're maybe not very flexible and we're feeling a tightness, and when we're overstretching. So it's really important to be careful and to make sure you err on the side of caution. But if we are too afraid to do anything, we're not going to actually be stretching. We'll be afraid to actually release, right? So it's kind of a give and take. You want to be careful. So inhale, exhale, we're going to lengthen and go forwards. I think my camera's on a bit of an angle, I apologize, but I'm gonna keep going. So really lengthening once again. Like if I go sideways, I really want to have that long back. So it doesn't matter how low I go, it's about that length and width. And I want to feel like my hamstrings are lengthening and going forward. Good. From there, we're going to bring one leg in. So at first, you might want to have your leg just like this. I like to cross it over and then I go forward. So I feel a little deeper, but you do not have to do that. Lengthening through the spine. Inhale, exhale. Coming up. And we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So either leg here or in here and lengthening. Inhale, exhale. Keep focusing on that breathing. So the next part, I usually use a chair. Actually, you can use a chair. I usually use my coffee table because I usually do this while I'm watching TV. So any chair not too high. I would start with something lower and then you can go up to a higher chair if you want. So this, I just place one leg on the chair and then the other one up here. I moved my timer, so I'm just gonna guess 30 seconds and you can just stay here. So you want to make sure this leg is comfortable as much as we can. This is preparing us for the splits. You want to keep your hips in line with your heels. So if you need to lower it, be on something that's lower, right? Whatever feels comfortable for you. Like we talked about, breathing, relaxing. So if you feel your muscles are tight, try to think of something like water flowing or clouds or any image that works for you to get your muscles to release. So we're going to stay for a little bit more. You can massage your legs while you're doing that, whatever feels good. You can flex the foot, point it. So like I said, with time you can keep everything a bit longer, but for now we're going to do about 30 seconds. So let's say that's about 30 seconds. We'll do the other leg. And as I mentioned previously, you might find one side's a little bit tighter. Don't force it to do anything that it doesn't want to do. So once again, nice square hips. While we're stretching, because we are dancers, right? We want to keep that good muscle memory, right? So I don't want to be all crooked and then I go to do an arabesque or a écran jeté or whatever, and then my alignment's off. So we want to have that discipline. So it's not always about doing tons of reps, but it's about doing what we do very consciously, very focused, so that our body doesn't have bad habits. So that when we go to do something, it knows how to do it properly. Good, a few more seconds. And let's say that's enough. So after that, or you can even do it before, I like to roll out my calves. So first I'll place the ball. It doesn't have to be a spiky one like I have. It can be a soft like toy from your dog or your cat. Or you can go to like a dollar store and get something that has a little bit of rubberiness to it. You don't want something too hard. As you progress, and if you feel comfortable, you can use a harder ball like I am, but at first I don't recommend it. And you want to be, once again, very careful with your body. So I like to place it personally in the middle of my calf, then I'll roll down to the bottom and just hold it for a few seconds. And then I'll go to the top, like not on the kneecap, like behind the knee, but just right where the calf ends. And then after that, you can just kind of roll around. And if you feel like, oh, you find that spot where it's a little tight, just stop, breathe, and you can just kind of roll around. And you can do that on both of your calves. I might as well go ahead so that my legs are more equal. So once again, starting with the middle. If you want more pressure, you can put one leg over the top of the other so it's pushing down more, whatever feels good for you. But like I said, you really need to listen to your body. Everyone's a little different and you're gonna find what works for you, right? Good. For me, the deep breathing helps, the melting helps, because I came back after taking a 13 or 14 year break. This was my splits, right? I had zero flexibility. I did nothing but walk the dog. I stopped dancing professionally, and I lost all my flexibility. I just walked the dog, that was all. So I had to start back. It was very humbling, but it was great to start back as a total beginner and understand what people go through and really, really listen to my body. So I highly recommend never force anything. And stretching, it takes time. It takes months to become more flexible. So there's never like a secret answer or one exercise that you'll do that will fix everything. It's really a labor of love and patience, right? Good. You can also take your ball and do that. You can also do your glute. I'm not going to get too much into this today, but you can sit on the ball and get into your glutes. For dancers that are dancing a lot, I highly recommend doing this. I do it every night, and you can just move around as well, and you can do that on both sides. So that's something I like to do before I go into like a split or anything like that. Then I personally love this one. You don't have to do it, but I have a very tight QL. It always gets tight. So I really like this one. It's a physiotherapy exercise. So you put your hand on the inside, you gently push down on your other thigh, not the kneecap. And I do a rotation, but I also bring my belly button backwards like a cat back. So if I do it this way, you'll see that I'm kind of sinking in my lower back, like curving this way, and I'm rotating. And that really helps me to target this area here. So I really like doing that one. Once again, you can hold it for 30 seconds. If you don't want to do this one, you can skip this part. So it's really up to you. But I find that we often don't know our QL is tight. It's not something that you'll really feel when you're doing class. But when I did this exercise, boy, did I feel a difference. Like I really felt a release and I realized, wow, I really am really tight there and I didn't even know. Good. And then you just find that your extensions, everything is easier to do side bends. Everything is just a little bit looser. So it's not a bad thing to do. And the other side, like I said, I'm not sure if I'm doing 30 seconds. So this is just a rough guide. You're welcome to just do these on your own, but at least you'll have an idea of the exercises, and then with time you can do them a little longer. But please be careful not to stay in the positions too long either. A little longer. Let's say that was about 30 seconds. So now I would go into the little more intense stretches. So I'd go into a nice pigeon. When you first start doing your pigeon, you might want to keep your leg more on a diagonal. So it's a little bit easier that way. That's what I did. And then as my flexibility in my hips and in my glutes, everything kind of released, you can go into more of a straight line. But that took me months to get. So don't force anything. So here once again, 30 seconds. You can also lean forward, and as much as you can, try to relax, which is not always the easiest thing when you're stretching and you're feeling like, oh, everything is really tight, this is hard. That's when you want to breathe a little deeper and relax and think pleasant thoughts, right? Good. So a tiny bit more. Feeling really good today. Now, this one is my least favorite, but really important to do. So I don't know for you, but I'm tight in the quad. So this one is really good for me, but doesn't necessarily feel super comfortable. It's not painful, but it's not my favorite thing to do, which means I have to do it, right? So you want to feel a nice release here, and I try to keep my foot in line. I'm not letting my foot go this way, and then holding for a good 30 seconds. Inhale, exhale, and then as you feel more and more comfortable, you can bring the foot in more and more. And I'm always trying to bring my glutes towards the floor. So I'm not letting my pelvis go up. I'm trying to bring my pelvis down, really stretching. And then from there, I'll just straighten my leg out and move around a little bit. So this is all preparing to do the split in a minute. Good. And then the other side, same thing. So you start with your pigeon, preparing those hips and everything. You can also use a block if you want to hold on to blocks, if you find it hard to put your hands on the floor, whatever feels good. For me, this side is tighter, so I'm not going to make my leg go out as much to the front because it's not going to like it. So always listening to that body. Another thing, your hands, don't let your hands grip. That's going to cause tension in the body. Imagine that they're melting into the floor. Soften your fingers, soften your arms. Your neck is long, so all that stuff really makes a difference in how flexible you become. You can lean forward. So let's say that's about 30 seconds. Not sure, but we'll guess. And then this guy here. So it's okay if you start up. Like, I can't physically go lower at the moment, but as I do it, it starts to release, right? So you don't want to force it into the maximum position right away. You want to release and breathe. Inhale, exhale. And then as it starts to relax, you can start pushing your pelvis down and then lengthening that leg out, moving around a little bit. Good. So we're almost done. We're going to go into a split. So you do not have to do a split. When I started, because like I told you, I had zero flexibility when I came back, I would use the block. So I would even sit on 2 blocks at first to do my split, because what's important is that the hips are square. If I'm all crooked, then I'm not stretching the right muscles, right? And like ligaments and everything. So if you're new, I'll just go on an angle so you can see, feel free to put the block and just sit on the block. And if you can't straighten the back leg, don't worry about it. Just breathe, do your best, right? But stay square. So what's most important are those hips. We want to keep those hips as square as possible. And then I'll just stay here for about 30 seconds, just going up and down. And once again, feeling that lengthening from the hamstrings. Good, you can flex the foot if you want. Good. Let's say that's about 30 seconds, I'm not sure. And then the other side. This side is harder for me. So I always like to be careful on this side. The hamstring's a little tighter. So I will stay up a little bit, wait till it starts to release, and then I go down. So you will learn your body, and don't make your body do the same thing on both sides if it's not comfortable, right? We really need to learn what works for us and to be gentle, because we only have the one body, right? So you can go forward. Nice deep breaths. We're almost done. Hold it a little bit longer. And always that lengthening, right? And feeling that spine and trying to be as square as we can be. Good. So personally, I don't like my students to do the over splits. I don't think it helps as a dancer. I was guilty of doing that when I was young. I used to do the over splits all the time. It never made my legs go higher, never made me better, and it's dangerous. So I really recommend split is good enough. You do not have to do more than a split. So now for the side split, there's 2 ways you can do it. So what I do is usually I have like we have a really long coffee table, and I'll kind of just like put the legs against here and then push up to it and just stay like this. So you can do it this way, and then I would reach to the side, grab my foot and open and breathe as much as I can. So as you can see, my QL is a little tight. Ideally, I should be more here, but stretching is a process, right? So we just keep getting better and better. We're not perfect, we never will be. We are works in progress. So just trying to get it open. So as I'm trying to do this, right? I can't do it yet, but I'm trying to open that side. Good. So that you can hold for 30 seconds. This I usually like to hold a little bit longer. For me, it just feels good, but do whatever is comfortable. You can also do it against the wall. So I like to do this one when I'm warm. So if you've done class, you're finished, and you feel like, oh, I want a nice stretch, then I like this one, where you go against the wall and you just stay. And that way it really opens the hips in a different way. And once again, you can hold that for like 30, 40 seconds. So that's about it. The only thing I like to do after is release. So I will go into an internal rotation, which is actually very difficult for me to do. I'm always externally rotated, so I try to really focus also on stretching in an internal position. So I'll sit like this for 30 seconds and then I will gently get up. So we'll wait a few minutes. Some people find this position really easy, great, but for me it's a little bit, it's gotten a lot better, but I used to be way up here, or you can sit on a block until you kind of get to release all the muscles and all the ligaments and everything. So what I like to do to finish is just a quick little stretch of my toes. So I'll just sit like this for a few seconds, nice stretch, and then gently coming up at one more hamstring stretch, just hanging, letting the body be as heavy as possible, hanging this way. And then to feel it a little more, I'll go into a first position, I'll bend, come up straight, and then just roll up. So that's it. So I hope you found this useful. Please feel free to take part whatever parts you like, but I just wanted to share with you what I do because I'm asked often and I just haven't had a chance to do it. Thank you so much for joining me.